Hey everybody, I want to go through week 6 announcements and assignments so we're all on the same page to start week 6. Sorry that the announcements are coming out a little bit late this week. It's been a pretty hectic morning and I was out late last night for my last opportunity to do some astrophotography for the Milky Way for 2020. So I got to wait until next year to continue doing that. Got home a little bit late and got a little bit of a late start today because of that. I apologize for that. All right, so what announcements can you expect or what can you expect coming up this week for week 6? We don't have any quizzes this week. I wanted to give you a week off from doing quizzes before we take exam 1, which is going to be next week. I'm going to mostly be talking about exam 1, giving you some tips and hints on how to study and what to expect. But before that, I have the very probably happy announcement that there are extra credit opportunities now posted on Canvas. I'm going to be posting more of them, but I have fully developed the first 2 assignments that you can do, and they can be repeated twice. So you can do each one of them 2 times. They're each worth plus 1.5% added to your final grade in this class. And I have the maximum extra credit set at plus 5%. So if you were to do each one of these twice, then you could earn plus 5% and be done with extra credit for the semester and hopefully learn a whole lot along the way. So be sure to check those out on Canvas. Keep an eye on those. I'll always announce whenever I'm releasing more opportunities. So exam 1, our first exam is next week. That's week 7. And just like with the quizzes, exams are going to be a 2-attempt policy. Our first attempt is going to be next Monday, the 28th of September. And the window is going to be the same. It's open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. The second attempt is Thursday, that's the 1st of October, open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. You'll be given a 1-hour window to complete the exam. So once you start the exam, the clock will start counting, so please keep that in mind. The timer is there to encourage you to make sure that you study, because you can't just go through and look up all the answers. I gave you all day to do it. I'm more testing your ability to look things up rather than testing whether or not you've studied the material and you've started to master it. So that's why there's a 1-hour timer on there. So be sure to keep that in mind. That also means that you need to start your attempt by 8 p.m. if you want the full hour. I've released a study guide on Canvas. It's called the Exam Must Knows, or Exam 1 Must Knows in this case. Be sure to check that out. It is my official study guide for the exams. It is hopefully very, very helpful to your studying habits. I include hints on how to study, what to expect, things like that as you go through the must knows. And the front matter will give you all the information you need to know about the exam. I cannot recommend enough going through that. I design my exams based on the must-knows. What will exam 1 cover? It's going to cover unit 1, parts 1 through 3. We are starting part 4 this week, so I'll be releasing part 4 material for you to watch this week, but that will not be included on the exam. I want you to have time to digest material before I give you an exam on it. So part 4 will not be on the exam, and I'm not going to finish part 4 this week. It's a pretty big part. It's all about light. When you take the exam, you'll want a calculator at the ready. So be sure that you have a calculator that you know how to use for the few mathematical analysis type questions that'll be on there. How do I do exam grading? It's the same 2-attempt policy as quizzes, so you have those 2 attempts. Your final exam grade will be the average of the 2 attempts. If you're happy with your first attempt, you can skip the second attempt, and it'll take your first attempt as your exam grade. If you want to try to improve your score from knowing what you missed and going back and redoubling your efforts in studying and having a little feedback with me, a back and forth on the discussion about exam 1 that will be created, then take the second attempt as a chance to improve your grade. You must take the first attempt. If you miss the first attempt, I'm counting that as a 0 on the first attempt that will be averaged with your second attempt. If I did not have this policy in place, nobody would ever take the first attempt. They would just wait for me to release more information about the exam and take the second attempt, thus undermining my entire two-attempt system. So you have to take the first attempt. Being able to skip the second attempt is my way of encouraging you to really work hard and treat your first attempt as if it is your only attempt. You should be prepared and be ready, and the goal should be to be able to ace the first attempt or do as well as you want to do on the first attempt. Okay, so what is the exam design? There are 55 questions on my in-class exams. That'll be exams 1, 2, and 3. A score of 50 will earn you a 100%, so you can miss 5 questions, no harm, no foul. Every question that you get over 50 earns you plus 1% added to your final exam grade, making the top score you can earn 105%. So I have 5, you can miss 5 questions before points start coming off your exam grade. How should you study for the exam? Go through the must-knows. I cannot emphasize this enough. As you go through the must-knows, take note of what's bold and in blue, and look for open-ended questions. It's not just a statement of know this, know this, know this, know this, know this. There is some stuff that just says you need to know this, but a lot of it are open-ended questions. Be sure you can answer all of those open-ended questions. I'm trying to guide you and prompt you on what to study, what questions are best to focus your studies on. Also, if you run into example questions while you're going through the must-knows, and there are several of them throughout there is a very high likelihood that those questions or ones very similar to them will end up on the exam. So in short, go through the must-knows, and if there is an open-ended question or an example question of any time, make sure you know how to get the right answer. Make sure you understand how to arrive at the right answer. I understand that a lot of you are probably worried about the maths in this class. I really suggest going through the practice problem sets, reviewing old homeworks, going through the engagement exercises. Also, I have created a pre-exam study discussion that you can go ahead and post your questions there, and we can go over some of the material again to help you get ready for the math-based questions. I do want to emphasize that there are 55 questions on the exam, and it's not just going to be a barrage of math-based questions. So let's take the example of something like angular size versus distance. So angular size versus distance, I'm probably going to ask at most 1, maybe 2 questions about that. Is you either know it or you don't know it. And if you know it and you get it right, great. That's awesome. If you don't know it and you miss it, I don't want to overweight that single concept. I want to test the breadth of your knowledge, not whether or not you can do this one particular math type question. So if I were to put more and more, if I was going to say throw 5 of those on the exam, I would be weighting that a lot more than all the other material, which is not a good way to give an exam. So typically, for every mathematical concept, there will be only 1 question. An exception to this will be the force of gravity and Kepler's third law. Force of gravity, I'll tell you right now, as a bonus to actually sticking with it and listening to this video, for the force of gravity, there will be 3 force of gravity type questions, direct questions. And one of them will have, I'll change the masses, you have to tell me how gravity would change in response. Another one is I'll change the distance, you have to tell me how gravity will change in response. And in the third one, I'll change the masses and the distances to make sure that you can engage with it fully. And that probes your full depth of knowledge for the force of gravity. Kepler's third law questions, there'll be 2 of them. One of them, I will give you the semi-major axis, you'll have to tell me the orbital period. The other one, I'll give you the orbital period, and you'll have to tell me the semi-major axis. Okay, so another thing that I can't emphasize enough, learn your vocabulary. I know this is not the most exciting studying that you can do is learning the vocabulary, but it's absolutely essential. If we're gonna have a course where we talk about astronomy, we have to know the astronomy terminology. So study your vocabulary. These are all the level 1 questions that I have in the study guide, or a lot of the level 1 questions. And if you know them, boom, you have the answer right off the bat. You don't that reserve some time for whenever you do have to reference the study guide or your own notes that you have, and you can just knock them out. And since they are the majority, knowing the basic concepts and vocabulary is the majority of the exam, this is an easy way to boost your exam grade, is knowing your vocabulary. Also, I highly suggest, instead of going with all the notes that we have, which is pretty voluminous, I really suggest creating a 1 to 2 page study sheet. These are sort of the things whenever a class would allow you to bring a equation sheet or some sort of a study guide to the exam. I'm suggesting that you go ahead and generate one of those. It's an open note exam, and having this 1 to 2 page study sheet condensing all that information down into a easy lookup place where you probably know where everything is on your own personally created study sheet. That will give you a guide for what you need to most reference. And that way, whenever you run into a question and you're having trouble with it, you don't have to go pouring through slide after slide after slide, file after file of which unit, which part to find your answer. You know exactly where to look to give you those memory cues so you can get to the right answer. Plus, creating one of these sheets is a very, very, very valuable form of studying in of itself. I also want to point out, and I know one of these is actually happening right now. I apologize for that. I was given a little bit of late warning when these were happening, but there are exam question and answer sessions with the course TAs. They are not preparing any material specifically, but they are making themselves available to you via Zoom sessions, so you can come in and ask them questions that you have regarding exam 1 material. I have the Zoom links and the README for week 6, and there's also a course announcement they sent this morning, so everybody had this information. The first of these 2 sessions is today. It's happening right now while I'm filming this video. It's being held, I think Jesse Farr, Maggie Hinkson, and Sarah Wellens are all on there, and it's from 11:30 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. all day today. So if you're just seeing this and you want to go ahead and tune in, go ahead and tune in. If you want to just passively listen, that's fine. If you have burning questions, go ask them. They can get you the help. Another session will be Wednesday, the 23rd of September with Sarah Wellens. That'll be from 11 a.m. until noon. Note that these really are just question and answer sessions. They are not guided exam reviews. They have not prepared a bunch of materials. I've told them what the most often questions are, so they should be ready to go with the questions that are most burning and pressing on your mind. I want to note that these sessions are also since the TAs are not only for this class, but the other astronomy class taught by Dr. Abdelrazik, these sessions are all combined together. Not my ideal, but that's how it's going. They have busy schedules as well. So please note, just make sure whenever you're asking questions that you're saying that you're from my class, and be aware that the material is not a 100% overlap. She covers things that I don't cover. I cover things that she doesn't cover. She goes through material a little bit quicker than I do, so she likely has more material on the exam than I do. Also, the final thing about exam 1, I've created a Canvas discussion called Pre-Exam 1 Studying. This is if you're having questions, you're going through your must-knows, you're making your 1 to 2 page study guide, and you're still having questions, you can't figure out how to answer that open-ended question in the must-knows, post in this discussion. And then I or the TAs or a fellow student can come and provide an explanation. And then we can all work towards learning how you can arrive at the right answer so you can understand the material, which is the goal. That's why I'm giving the exam, is to encourage you to really internalize and master this material. All right, so our final slide, our announcement, or our assignments for the week. Week 6 engagement exercise is due this Sunday, the 27th at 11:59 p.m. Again, I hope to have this out by Thursday evening, and you will always have infinite tries for this. Please note that this material will not be on the exam, but I decided that it's just more important to keep the schedule exactly the same than making special cases and having people confused and then therefore maybe missing an engagement exercise. I really suggest just knocking this one out the Thursday night that I release it or on Friday, and then you can enjoy your weekend and focus on studying for the exam. And homework number 4 is due this Wednesday. It's about Unit 1, Part 3. It's a pretty big homework. There's a lot of mathematics on it. Please make use of the Canvas discussion for that material to get help that you may need. All right, that was a very long announcement because I wanted to explain the exam. I will see you in the weekly videos. Thank you for tuning in.